All right, so I've waited some time. By the way, I'm going to use this later for my lasagna. This is Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. This is the only Parmesan cheese that's actually Parmesan cheese. It comes from a very special region of Italy where the cows feed off of grasses that are nourished in their soil. Their milk has a special lactobacillus production, and it gives the cheese its distinctive taste. This cannot be reproduced in other places. So when you see Parmesan cheese in other places, it is not Parmigiano Reggiano. And one of the ways you can tell is, now this is a small hunk, and it's expensive, but it's worth its weight in gold. Its taste is special, unique, and just completely distinguishable. You see this rind? This rind lets me know where it's from. This cheese is aged about a year and done in a very special set of facilities in one region in Italy, and that's it. So there have been other places that try to make Parmesan cheese, but it is not Parmigiano Reggiano, and dare I say, to offend the French, but it's even more distinguishable among cheeses than, say, distinguishing between California white wine or California sparkling wine and champagne. So, anyway, Parmigiano Reggiano, product of Italy, the only thing to use in this application, which we'll come to later. But the main point of this video is here. So we've waited about 25 to 30 minutes, and my pasta dough is nice and relaxed now. And you notice I have a lot of it. And if you make a bunch ahead, that's fine. You don't have to use it all in one shot. You can roll it out, you can make noodles, and then you can, dry the noodles and store them. You can freeze the ball, store in your fridge for a couple of days. So it's up to you. So I'm making lasagna, and I'm using the easy way to roll these things out. So first of all, you'll notice, see how easy it is to flatten this disc now and work? So when we first made this ball, remember, I couldn't have done this. I could have tried and tried and tried. It would not have come out in this nice disc. So first thing I'm going to do, now I just have plain old all-purpose flour for flouring my board here. So I have my workspace clear. And I'm just going to dust. Flour is your friend when you're working with pasta. So, when you roll out pasta, you can cut shapes. Actually, that's great for kids. So if you've got kids around, you want to cut shapes to your heart's content. Kids love them. It's fun. Adults love them. It's fun. So, not that I would ever suggest cutting dinosaur shapes for yourself. So I just take a piece and I make a little disc like this. It's like a silver dollar pancake size. I put it in the flour to flour. Now, I'm using this roller attachment to my KitchenAid mixer. Now, you don't have to have this. You could easily work this out with your hands or a rolling pin. And if you don't believe me, I have a rolling pin. And I can roll this out to size if I want. I had a little disc, now I've got this. So once I do that, I fold it, 1, 2, kind of like you were folding the wallet or something. It's often the description you get. You got it like this. Now if you use the machine, a hand crank or a KitchenAid, you start at the widest setting and then you go as thin as you want. So I have it locked. I started on the low setting, right? And I pass it through. Watch your fingers. If it sticks to your rollers, your dough's too wet and you need to flour. So I try this. I'm going to fold it again, even that out, and on through. Watch your fingers. And that folds it nice. So now I'm going to keep going on my settings. And my goal here is, because I'm making lasagna noodles, I want them a certain thickness. So you can roll these and roll them. And right now I want to roll my lasagna noodles to number 5 on my rolling machine here. But if you were making spaghetti, you might roll it even thinner. 3, 4. See, I'm not making it too big, right? Doesn't have to be too unwieldy. 4, 5. Now, why would I suggest homemade to store-bought in a box pasta? Well, one thing about homemade, especially if you hand roll it, is that hand rolling still leaves a lot of bumps and ridges on your pasta. So actually, these things hold sauce much better than stuff even rolled by this machine. And the lumps give it the character. So, you'll notice that my noodle here is not beautiful. So, I'm not going on the Food Network anytime soon. It's okay though. So here I go. That's my last setting. So I've got my thickness set. I lay it down in the flour. And I flour there, and I flour there, like that. So I've got a flour. Flour is your friend when you're working with pasta dough. Always your friend. And you don't have to use your 00 flour to flour the board, because that can be a little pricey. So just use your all-purpose flour. Remember, this technique is simple. It's old. And every culture has a noodle of some kind. Kind of like every culture has its own kind of pancake. So I make my disc, and I reset my machine to 1. There I go. And I give it patience. Patience. There we go. Perfect. Now I fold, and I fold, evenly, nicely, and then through. There you go. All right. Now I turn to 2. By the way, sometimes I actually like very thick noodles. So I'll roll them to a 1 and have them with a very heavy sauce. Love it. And by the way, one of the other things that you're going to have in here, starch content. Starch content is your friend, especially when you're making your homemade sauce, and especially when you're making your own fettuccine Alfredo, because your Alfredo sauce should be nothing more than Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, butter, and pasta water. And that is a separate video that I will show. Pasta Alfredo was invented at a restaurant called, I believe it's Alfredo alla Scarfa in Italy. Doug Fairbanks and Mary Pickford ate there and had their dish, and then brought it back to the States and popularized it. The rest of Italy doesn't have Alfredo. So, while it's a very popular dish in America, it's not necessarily a popular dish in Italy, because they don't know what really Alfredo is outside of that restaurant. So a number of restaurants have picked it up and started making it. So if you're making Alfredo and people are adding cream and cinnamon and everything else, yes, it's a cream sauce, but it's not Alfredo. Doesn't mean it isn't good. So I keep doing this until I make all my noodles. Watch your fingers. yes. A lovely day to do this is on a Sunday. Take some time on a Sunday afternoon. You can make your pasta ahead for the month. Kind of like making sauce ahead of time. You can jar your sauce. You can freeze your sauce in a Ziploc bag, a zip top bag. Store it in the freezer. You got sauce. And believe me, your sodium content will be much lower. And I guarantee you'll taste it. It'll be much, much tastier than anything you buy at a store. And now, you see I've got some pretty big noodles here. I made a nice package for myself. And then I start again. This food is based on what was available to peasants, common people. The great irony of it now is that people pay top dollars for very well done, simple peasant food. The foods that most people associate with Italy, especially southern Italy, the red sauce of tomatoes, and pasta. We're looking at imports, right? A lot of potatoes as well. Well, all New World crops. Potatoes are a New World crop. Tomatoes are a New World crop. They were brought here to feed the poorest of the poor, and they proliferated. So imported from the Americas and brought overseas. So the iconic Italian red sauce couldn't have happened without the Americans. What's more, tomatoes are, I believe, the only non-poisonous member of the nightshade family. So a lot of people wouldn't eat tomatoes at first because they assumed they were poisonous. But you don't get classic Italian cuisine without the Colombian exchange. And this is why you don't have a historian cook for you. Go. See, it doesn't have to be a huge disc. And you can make to order, so it's just you're making some macaroni for your kids. This thing works really well. And if you're supervising your kids and they're old enough, this is an easy thing for them to do. And this is a skill that will help them eat for a long time. I guarantee. Sorry, Justin Wilson, I'm stealing your phrase, but I guarantee you are not going to have the same taste, flavor, or chew out of a box. You just never will. And remember, this cuisine is made to be simple. Too many ingredients usually means it's not authentic. Good chefs, good cooks, good people who get simpler as they master. The simpler a dish, the more confidence they have, and the better their food is. Right through. wait to eat this. And my last one. Now, if you have one of these, you're going to see a lot of flour. No bits, hopefully, but flour, just dry flour. Just wipe that out. You can use a can of compressed air to blow some out if it's in the rollers. Do not immerse or wash these with water, because it will rust these rollers and they will be no good. No one wants that. So, last one. All right. So, very simple. Yep. Took me all of 15 minutes to roll out lots of noodle sheets here. Now, if I wanted to make noodles, there's a cutter there. I could change out the cutter, put it in, just drop them in, and it'll cut my noodles for me. Alternatively, I could flour this, right? Like I have been, right? So it doesn't stick to each other. Roll it up kind of like a fruit roll-up. You know? Like that, or a pig in a blanket, and then just cut with a knife to the size that I want, and then I'll have noodles. Just make sure you use plenty of flour. Flour's your friend here. Nothing wrong with flour. But in this case, I'm making lasagna. So, I do have to cut these into strips. Now, when you cook these noodles, my pasta water is boiling. It's been salted. When you cook these, you cook them until they float. It shouldn't take more than a minute or two. You cook them about 2 minutes, really. They'll cook, and then you'll see the noodles float. Once they do, they're done. And that's it. Don't overcook them, because if you do, they'll be mushy and unpalatable. And what you're looking for is a bit of chew, what the Italians call al dente, meaning to the tooth. So you do want a bit of chew in your noodles.